It started on a Tuesday, a normal, nothing special, painfully average Tuesday. I had just moved into a one-bedroom apartment in an older part of town, cheaper rent, creaky floorboards, and windows that didn't shut properly. The kind of place that felt like it held on to memories long after the people left. I wasn't expecting much, just a roof over my head and some quiet. But the quiet I got wasn't the kind I had hoped for. The first night went by without issue. I unpacked a few boxes, ate leftover pizza, and passed out, watching YouTube on my phone. Nothing weird. Nothing yet. The second night, I woke up at 3:07 a.m., wide awake, not groggy, not disoriented, just suddenly alert. It wasn't a sound that woke me. In fact, it was the absence of sound. The silence was thick, unnatural, like the apartment was holding its breath. I didn't hear the usual hum of the fridge, no wind rattling the loose windows, no creaks from the hallway above, just a hush, a deep, pressing hush, the kind that makes you feel like something is in the room with you, watching. My chest felt heavy, like someone was sitting on it. I couldn't move at first. Not because I was paralyzed, but because I didn't want to. I was scared. Of what? I didn't know yet. But my gut screamed to stay still. That's when I noticed the shadow in the corner. It wasn't moving. It wasn't doing anything. But it was there, darker than the rest of the room. Still, heavy, watching. I blinked, looked again. Gone. I told myself it was a trick of the eyes, a leftover dream, a weird shape made by moonlight. But deep down I knew that hush wasn't normal. And whatever stood in that corner, it wasn't part of the apartment. The next morning I laughed it off, told myself I was being ridiculous. Lack of sleep, stress from the move, maybe even that stale pizza. I chalked it up to a textbook case of overactive imagination. Like when you're a kid and swear there's a monster in the closet, but it turns out to be a hoodie on a chair. But there was this tension in the room when I got up. I don't know how else to explain it. The kind of feeling you get when someone's mad at you and you don't know why. Thick air, invisible weight, like you're unwelcome. Still, I pushed it aside. I had work to do, boxes to unpack, errands to run. I tried to make the apartment feel like home. I hung a few pictures, lit a candle, even set up my speaker to play some low music. Anything to fill the space with a little more life. But that night, Wednesday, I couldn't stop looking at that one corner. The same one where I thought I saw the shadow. It sat right across from my bed, where the walls met at a perfect 90-degree angle. Completely ordinary. And yet, I avoided eye contact with it. I couldn't help it. My eyes kept drifting there, even when I told myself not to look. I left the light on when I went to bed, something I hadn't done since I was 10 years old. I told myself it was just for comfort, for ambience. But deep down, I think I was testing it, testing the hush. Would it come back if I didn't let the darkness in? At 3 a.m., I woke up again. This time I remember hearing a soft click. My lamp was off. I didn't turn it off. I know I didn't. It has one of those twist knobs, the kind that makes a very specific sound when it's clicked off. And that's exactly what I heard. A soft, deliberate click. Just seconds before I opened my eyes. The room was pitch black again. And the hush, it was back. Heavy, full. The kind of silence that screams louder than noise. I couldn't hear the cars outside. Couldn't hear the neighbor's dog, which barked non-stop during the day. The whole world felt paused, like I had been yanked into a soundproof bubble. Then there was breathing, not mine. It came from the same damn corner. It wasn't loud or obvious. It was subtle, so quiet you'd miss it if you weren't holding your breath to hear it. Shaky, ragged, like something trying to stay hidden but unable to stop itself from exhaling. I wanted to get up, turn on my phone flashlight, scream, run, anything. But I just lay there, frozen under the covers, like a kid trying to hide from the boogeyman. The breathing stopped, just stopped. Then a whisper, right in my ear. Don't look at it. I bolted upright, heart pounding, gasping for air. The room was still dark, still silent. But the whisper didn't come from the corner. It came from beside me, inches away. And I was alone, wasn't I? I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I sat up in bed, knees pulled to my chest, like some terrified child, staring at the far wall as if it might open up and swallow me whole. I refused to look at the corner. I kept telling myself, don't look at it, don't look at it. Not because of the whisper, but because some primal instinct told me that if I acknowledged it again, it would know that I saw it, that I heard it, that it could keep going. When the first pale light of morning slipped through the blinds, I got up, my legs stiff and sore from hours of tension. I grabbed my keys, my phone, and didn't even bother to change out of my sweatpants. I just left, walked straight out of that apartment, and drove aimlessly around town for hours. I didn't even realize I hadn't brought my wallet until I tried to get a coffee and came up empty. I didn't care. I just needed to be away. I sat in a grocery store parking lot for nearly 45 minutes watching people go in and out of the sliding doors, living their normal lives, smiling, laughing. No idea that just a few miles away something was breathing in the shadows of my bedroom. That was the worst part, really, the normalcy outside. The fact that I couldn't explain any of this to anyone. What would I even say? Hey, I moved into a new place and now something invisible is turning off my lights and whispering in my ear at night. No one would believe me. Hell, I barely believed me. By the time I returned home, it was past noon. The apartment felt wrong. Not scary exactly, just off. Like I had interrupted something. The air felt touched, disturbed, like someone had just been there and left in a hurry. I walked straight into the bedroom. The lamp was on again. Now that should have been a relief, right? It meant nothing was wrong. But it wasn't, because I never turned it back on. That twist knob had been off when I left that morning. I remembered it clearly. I had left the room in complete darkness, too afraid to touch anything. But here it was now, lit like nothing had ever happened, like it was mocking me. I checked the doors, windows. Everything was locked from the inside. No signs of forced entry, no missing items, no footprints. But there was one new thing. A single faint handprint on the bedroom wall, in the corner, low, small, as if a child had pressed their palm there and leaned in, just watching me sleep. I stood there for what felt like hours, heart drumming in my ears, staring at that mark. It didn't feel threatening. Not exactly. It felt intentional, like a message. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I moved my bed, dragged it across the room so that it faced away from the corner. It took everything in me not to cry while doing it. I was rearranging my life around a shadow, around a silence, and as I lay there that night, facing the opposite wall, blanket clutched under my chin, I prayed the hush wouldn't return. But deep down I knew it would. And next time, it wouldn't be content to just breathe. I didn't sleep much, but I survived that night. No breathing, no whispers, no sudden hush. at 3 a.m. Just a restless, anxiety ridden fog of half dreams and hyper awareness. Every sound, every creak of the old floorboards, every tick of the heater felt amplified, like the apartment was testing my nerve. I kept my back turned to that cursed corner all night, forcing myself not to look, not even once. And when morning finally came, it felt less like sunrise and more like a temporary ceasefire. I should have packed up and left right then. I know that now. But fear does strange things. It convinces you that maybe, just maybe, last night was the last time. That maybe, if you don't provoke it, it'll go away. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. That Thursday, I took a different approach. I went to a bookstore and bought Sage, some new age cleanse your energy kind of kit. I also bought a cheap white noise machine and a small nightlight shaped like a moon. I wasn't even sure if I believed in any of it, but the act of doing something gave me comfort, control, even if it was false. I burned the sage that evening, wafting it around the room with the instructions in one hand and a lighter in the other. I felt ridiculous. I kept the windows open to let the bad energy out, but the smoke didn't drift outside like it was supposed to. It hung in the room, stubborn, dense, especially in the corner. That damned corner. I waved the sage harder, stepping closer. The smoke got thicker, curling unnaturally into the shape of a tight funnel before sinking into the floor, like something breathed it in. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the smudge stick. Just old drafts, I muttered. Old house, leaky seals, air currents. But I didn't believe it. Not really. That night, I left the moon nightlight on, left the white noise machine humming in the background, a soft loop of crashing waves, comforting in its consistency. I placed the smudge stick on the dresser like a protective charm and got into bed. Again, I made sure to face away from the corner. It was quiet for a long time, too quiet. At 3:02 a.m., the white noise machine shut off completely, mid-surf crash. I sat up instantly, heart in my throat. The room was dark, aside from the faint blue glow of the moonlight. But the air was all wrong again, dead, still, expectant. Then from behind me, where the corner waited, I heard the softest rustle, like fingers brushing across fabric or skin against drywall, slow, deliberate. And then the whisper returned, closer than before. It remembers you now. I turned before I could stop myself. I looked. God help me, I looked. And for just a split second I saw it. Not a full figure, not a person, just the suggestion of one. A shape darker than the dark, lanky, bent, like its limbs didn't belong in this dimension, pressed into the corner as if the walls had made room for it. And its head, too long, too low, was turned toward me. I scrambled backward, falling off the bed with a grunt. My elbow slammed into the nightstand, sending the moonlight tumbling across the floor. The room flickered. The hush grew louder somehow, like pressure building behind my ears. I reached blindly for the lamp, twisting the knob with shaking hands. Click. Light flooded the room. Empty. No shape. No shadow. No whisper. Just me, panting on the floor, clutching my throbbing elbow and staring at that now empty corner. But it wasn't empty. Not really. Because for the first time, the wall beneath it had changed. 3 vertical scratch marks. Shallow, but fresh. As if something had pressed its fingers against the drywall and dragged them down. Slow and deliberate. It wasn't just watching me anymore. It was getting closer. I didn't leave the apartment the next morning, not because I didn't want to, but because I physically couldn't. I woke up late, past noon, my body aching as if I'd been in a car crash. Every muscle screamed. My head throbbed with a dull pressure, And there was this numbness in my limbs, like my body had been asleep far longer than I had. When I finally rolled out of bed, the scratch marks on the wall were still there. No dream, no hallucination. They weren't deep, but they were real. Three jagged lines, uneven but deliberate. I couldn't stop staring at them. They had a strange rhythm, almost like a signature. I grabbed my phone and took a picture. I'm not sure why. Proof, maybe. Something to convince myself later that I hadn't imagined it all. But when I looked at the photo, the scratches weren't there. Not faded, not unclear. They were just gone. I blinked, confused, and looked back at the wall. Still there. I waved my phone again, snapped a second shot. Same result. Wall. Clean. Real life. Scratched. I threw my phone down on the bed and backed away from the wall. A deep, nauseating chill rolled up my spine. Something was messing with me. Not just haunting, manipulating, shifting what could and couldn't be captured. I thought about calling someone, a friend, a coworker, anyone. But what would I even say? Hey, my apartment's being haunted, but only in real life, not in pictures. Instead, I pulled a chair into the hallway and sat there, just outside my bedroom door, watching that cursed corner from a distance. I sat there for hours, lights on, hands clasped together tightly in my lap. I didn't blink much. I didn't even eat. And during all that time, the apartment stayed silent, still, but not in a comforting way. More like the kind of silence where even the walls seemed to be listening. At one point, maybe around 7 p.m., the bulb in the hallway light began to hum, a soft, low pitched vibration. I thought it might be electrical bad wiring, maybe. Old building, after all. But then it flickered. Not a normal flicker. A pulse. Slow, like a heartbeat. And every time it dimmed, I could feel something watching me again. Like the light was protecting me. And something was just waiting for it to fail. I stayed in that chair all the way until midnight. I only got up once to pee. And even then, I kept the bathroom door open and my eyes glued to the hallway. I was paranoid, exhausted, but alive. And then it happened again. 3 a.m., right on cue. This time I was awake for it, not jolted out of sleep, not startled. I was already staring down the hallway, wide-eyed, wrapped in a blanket. And slowly, methodically, the hush returned. The noise stopped. The hum of the hallway light vanished. No more cars outside. No refrigerator hum. No wind against the windows. The silence was too perfect, like reality itself had been muted. Then, soft footsteps, not on the hallway floor, not behind me, but in the bedroom. I froze. One step, two, three, like bare feet dragging across carpet. Slow, careful. I couldn't see in. The door was slightly ajar, but the angle of my chair left the room just out of view. But the sound, God, the sound was so close. And then came the breath. Not raspy like before. This was slower, wet, like someone breathing through broken lungs. Click. The hallway light went out. Darkness swallowed everything, but not instantly. It poured in like thick ink. I stood, heart slamming against my ribs, and took a single step back. Then I heard the floorboard creak behind me. My body froze, mid-motion. Something was now standing in the hallway. I turned, slowly, expecting to see empty air. Maybe a trick of the shadows. But what I saw instead was a hand, not reaching for me, not attacking, just visible, clutching the edge of the bedroom door from the inside. Long fingers, pale skin, black under the nails. Motionless. And then, without sound, the door began to close. Gently, slowly. as if whoever, whatever, was behind it didn't want me to leave. Or maybe it was sealing itself back in for the night. I stumbled backwards, bumping into the wall. I fumbled for my phone, slammed my thumb on the flashlight, and the second the beam flicked on, the hush shattered. Boom! Noise flooded back. Cars honking outside, pipes rattling, wind screaming against the windows, a dog barking 2 floors below. Everything came back at once, like someone had unmuted the world. But the door? Still shut. And the hand? Gone? I didn't sleep. I didn't speak. I didn't move from the hallway floor until morning. And even then, I opened that bedroom door with the flashlight still on, step by step, holding my breath. The room was empty. The corner was clean. No handprints, no scratches, no whisper. But the air still felt touched, like something had pressed its weight into the walls overnight. And worst of all, my blanket, the one I had been wrapped in all night, was back on my bed. Hold it. That morning, something in me snapped. I couldn't do it anymore. Not the pretending, not the rationalizing, not the lying to myself that it was all in my head. There was something in that apartment, something that watched, something that waited, something that knew. I didn't shower, didn't eat. I just paced back and forth, over and over again. I kept trying to think logically, trying to hold on to that last thread of reason. Maybe it was carbon monoxide, sleep paralysis, a gas leak causing hallucinations. I even checked the detector. It was working. No alarms, no leaks. I went online, desperate for answers. Paranormal forums, Reddit threads, obscure blogs. I typed in everything. Something whispers at 3 a.m. Apartment goes silent suddenly. Shadow in corner, watching me. Can ghosts fold blankets? The responses I found, all over the place. Some said it was a demon. Others said it was a shadow person, a spiritual parasite that feeds on attention and fear. A few called it the watcher in the corner, an old urban myth about a presence that doesn't haunt places but people. And then I found a thread, old, archived, almost 10 years old. It had no responses, just a single post. Does anyone else have a room that goes completely silent at 3 a.m.? Not like quiet, dead. I moved into a new apartment and it started happening. First shadows, then scratches, then whispers. It's like the darkness is learning me, like it's trying to come out. It sent shivers through my body. The username was random, just a string of numbers. The poster never replied to anyone again. Their account hadn't been active since. I slammed the laptop shut. By now it was late afternoon and I couldn't take it anymore. I packed a bag and left, booked a room at a cheap motel on the other side of town. I didn't care that I'd paid first and last month's rent. I didn't care that all my things were still inside that cursed apartment. I just wanted out. The motel room smelled like bleach and disappointment, but I felt safe for the first time in days. The walls were plain, the corners were shallow. There was no strange hush, no whisper, no pull. I turned on the TV and let it babble in the background. I even laughed a little, ordered fast food, watched a dumb reality show. It felt good to be somewhere that didn't feel haunted by something ancient and patient. I thought I'd made it out, but at 3 a.m., the room went quiet. So sudden, I felt it in my bones. No hum from the vending machines outside. No TV sound, just static. No hallway footsteps, just nothing. That same oppressive stillness. That same air pressure shift. The hush had followed me. I grabbed my phone. 1% battery. Somehow the charger I'd used earlier hadn't worked. It was dead before I could even turn on the flashlight. And then the TV turned off. I didn't touch it. No remote nearby, just click, darkness. I backed up, my breath quickening, then came the sound. Not footsteps this time. It was tapping, slow, rhythmic, from the bathroom door. Tap, tap, tap 3 times, like someone testing the wood, or reminding me it knew where I was. I stared at the door, every hair on my body standing straight. Then, from behind it, came a low voice. Not a whisper. This time, it spoke clearly. You left the door open. I don't remember moving. I just remember running. Out the motel room, down the corridor, barefoot, shirtless. I don't even know if I had my keys. I ran until I hit the lobby. The night manager, a half asleep guy with a bored expression, stared at me like I was crazy. I didn't care. I begged him to check the room, told him someone was inside, that someone had followed me. He went up with a flashlight. 10 minutes later, he came back, said the room was empty, windows locked, door dead bolted, no signs of forced entry, bathroom lights off, no one inside. But then he said something that made my blood freeze. He cleared his throat and asked, "Hey, you sure you were alone in there?" I stared at him. "Why?" He hesitated. "Because when I opened the door, it smelled off like mildew and copper, real strong, like something's been sitting in the dark for a long time." I left the motel that night, drove around until morning, parked in an empty Walmart lot, watched the sunrise through my windshield, and when I finally worked up the courage to check my phone, there was a new photo in my camera roll. I didn't take it. The image was of my bed, back at the apartment, taken from the corner. I didn't go back to the apartment, not after that photo, not after seeing my own bed captured from inside the room, taken from that cursed corner. The timestamp on the image was 3:01 a.m. The angle was low, tilted, like someone or something was crouching, watching. There was no flash, no noise, just the image, blurry, shadowed. But the most horrifying detail? I was in the bed, lying there, asleep, head turned toward the camera, mouth slightly open, oblivious. Except I hadn't been home that night. I was at the motel. I had left. So how was there a photo of me sleeping in that room? The air left my lungs as I stared at the screen. My hands trembled so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I checked the file info again. Location metadata? Blank. No GPS ping. The phone was at 1% when I fled the motel, but the image was time-stamped just a few minutes after the hush came. It shouldn't have been possible, unless it wasn't a photo of me at all, unless something else had taken my shape, worn my skin like a memory, lain in my bed like it belonged there. Or worse, unless I had never left. The thought clawed through my skull. What if I'd imagined the motel? What if I'd never run at all? What if that room, that corner, was inside me now? I couldn't go to the police. What would I say? "Hey, a ghost's pretending to be me and also took a selfie." No one would believe me. I barely believed myself. I drove to a 24-hour diner and sat there for hours, just trying to stay around people. I didn't eat, just drank cup after cup of burnt coffee, listening to folks clatter and old songs hum through weak speakers. I watched the sun rise again. For a moment, the world felt normal. But that night, when the sky turned blue to black, I knew I had to do something drastic. If this thing was attached to me, then it didn't matter where I went. Changing location wouldn't help. I needed to face it, confront it, learn what it wanted, or drive it out if I still could. I stopped at a spiritual supply store in the city, one of those tucked away shops with dusty shelves and handwritten signs. The woman behind the counter didn't flinch when I told her my story. She just nodded slowly and said, "It's chosen you." I asked, "Chosen me for what?" She didn't answer. Instead, she gave me a small black candle, a mirror wrapped in cloth, and a handful of herbs I couldn't identify. She wrote instructions on the back of a receipt. Don't break the circle, she warned. And whatever you do, don't speak its name if it gives one. That's how it gets in deeper. What is it? I asked. She looked up, her eyes tired. It's not a ghost. It's not even dead. It's what watches things die. I didn't ask for more. That night, I went back to the apartment. The moment I stepped inside, the air felt thick again, like walking underwater. The light in the kitchen flickered once. My bedroom door stood open, wide, waiting. I didn't go in right away. I sat up in the living room, laid the mirror flat on the floor, lit the candle, made the circle with the herbs. I sat cross-legged, breathing slow, the instructions clenched in my hand. At exactly 2:58 a.m., the temperature dropped. Not gradually, instantly. The windows frosted on the inside. And then, just like every night before, 3 a.m. struck. The hush returned. But this time, it wasn't confined to the bedroom. It spread across the entire apartment. I couldn't hear my own breath, couldn't hear the flicker of the candle. My heartbeat was the only sound, and even that felt borrowed. Then, from behind me, a voice whispered, closer than ever, "You finally came home." I didn't turn around. I couldn't. The candlelight dimmed. The mirror began to fog, though I hadn't touched it. And then something moved in the reflection, not behind me, not beside me, inside the mirror. It leaned forward, slowly, the shape of a head, then shoulders. But there was no face, just void, darkness that flickered like flame. I watched as it placed something down into the reflection, something familiar. It was my phone. Then came the knock. Tap, tap, tap. But not from the door, from the inside of the mirror. I didn't move. Couldn't. My legs were locked, muscles frozen in place. My brain was screaming, run, run, run. But my body refused to obey. The knock had come from inside the mirror, not around it, not beneath it, inside it. As if the reflection wasn't reflecting anymore, but looking back. Tap, tap, tap. I watched, breath held, as the black shape behind the glass began to tilt its head, mimicking me. There were no eyes, no mouth, just an absence where a face should have been, pulsing softly, like it was breathing. Then something new happened. The candle flickered, not from a breeze, but like something exhaled on it. The flame leaned inward, toward the mirror, as if it too was being pulled into whatever dark pressure was bleeding through. And then the surface of the mirror rippled, like water. The figure reached up slowly, deliberately, and pressed its hand against the inside of the glass. Its fingers were long, too long, bent at odd angles. The nails were cracked and sharp, curled inward, like claws trying to grip what couldn't be held. Then it began to write. One finger dragged across the mirror's surface from the inside, tracing out something in the fogged glass. Letters, slow, shaky. I stared, trying to make sense of it. Letmei. I flinched, my throat tightened. Let me in. Number, no. I scrambled for the receipt, the one with the instructions, and read the last line again, shaking. Do not speak. Do not break the circle. And above all, do not answer if it speaks first. But this wasn't speech, was it? It had written something. Was that the same thing? Was writing still communication? My brain raced through loopholes, panic twisting logic into knots. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But the moment I moved, the figure did too. It leaned closer. The glass bulged just slightly, like pressure building behind a dam. And then it spoke. Not through the room, not through the air, but through my own voice. I swear to God, it used my voice, my exact tone, pitch, cadence, but warped, echoing, like it was mimicking something it hadn't quite perfected. Please, let me in. My jaw locked. Tears spilled without warning. It felt like something ancient was reaching into my chest with invisible hands, testing my fear, tasting it. The air got colder, and then I saw another hand reaching out, not from the mirror this time, but from the corner of the living room, behind the TV stand, a place where no one could possibly be hiding. It gripped the edge of the wall, slowly curling around the paint. I shot up. In doing so, I kicked the candle. It rolled, snuffed out, the circle broken, and in that instant, the hush collapsed. It wasn't silence anymore, it was sound inverted, like being crushed under the weight of pure noise, except I couldn't hear any of it. My ears rang, my head split open with pain, my vision rippled like heat waves. The room shifted, like the walls were folding inward, hungry. And then I heard a whisper, clear, sharp, right beside my ear. You already said yes. The mirror shattered, not into pieces, into dust. It didn't fall. It imploded, as if something had sucked it inward from the other side. And then, just as suddenly as it all started, everything stopped. The lights flickered back on. The hum of the refrigerator returned. Outside, a distant car alarm wailed. It was over. Or so I thought. But when I turned to look down at where the mirror had been, there was no glass, no candle, no herbs, no sign I'd ever set up anything at all, just my phone, sitting neatly in the center of the floor, screen on, recording. And when I tapped it, trembling, and played the recording back, it wasn't video, it was audio, only 2 seconds long, just my own voice, distorted, deeper, layered over itself, whispering, I'm already inside. I left the apartment that night, didn't grab clothes, didn't shut the door, didn't even take the phone. I just walked barefoot down the street like a ghost in my own skin. My mind had no thoughts, just screams, silent ones, long wordless screams that echoed in the hollow between each heartbeat. I didn't know where I was going until I ended up on my sister's porch. She opened the door, bleary-eyed, blinking like I'd woken her from a dream. Her face shifted the second she saw me. Oh my God, what happened to you? I wanted to speak. I really did. But something in my throat refused to let the words out. Not fear, something else. Something wrapped tight around my vocal cords like a fist made of ice. She pulled me inside, helped me sit, handed me water. I hadn't said a single word since the mirror broke. But the moment I looked in her hallway mirror, I understood why. Because the reflection didn't match me. Oh, it looked like me at first glance, but not right. The posture was wrong. The head tilted too slowly, the blink was delayed, and the smile I wasn't making on my real face curved ever so slightly on the other side of the glass. My sister saw it too. She gasped, took a step back. Why did you just smile like that? I didn't, I said, finally finding my voice, but even that didn't sound like me. It was like someone had taken a voice impression of me and replayed it through old tape, close enough to fool someone on the phone, but in person, it was off. And the reflection? It smiled wider. Then it winked. That wasn't me. I didn't blink. I didn't move. But the version of me in the mirror winked. I lost it. Smashed the hallway mirror with the nearest thing I could grab. A lamp. Glass shattered across the floor. My sister screamed. Asked me what the hell was wrong. I couldn't answer. Not fully. I tried to explain about the hush, the shadows, the mirror, the message on my phone, the voice. the corner, but the words came out broken, like I was translating a dream through smoke. She didn't believe me. Not completely, but she let me stay the night. I curled up on her couch, wrapped in a blanket that smelled like dryer sheets and safety. For a while, it worked. I fell asleep for the first time in days, real sleep. Not those glassy eyed trances back in the apartment, but then came the dream. And it wasn't mine. I knew it from the start. The dream began in my bedroom, but not the real one. A mirror of it, angled wrong, light coming from nowhere. The air still, too still, like a photo pretending to be a room. I was lying in bed but couldn't move. And in the corner, something unfolded, like it had been hiding behind the dark, waiting. It stood up slow, tall, bones cracking, and it was me, my face, my body, same scars, same birthmark near the collarbone. But its eyes were wrong. They had no iris, just pits, deep, wet, reflective. It leaned over me, and its mouth didn't move. But the words echoed inside my head. You're not the only one wearing your face. Then it reached down and peeled off my skin like a jacket. I woke up screaming. My sister rushed in. I was drenched in sweat, shaking. I ran to the bathroom, turned on the light, looked in the mirror, and for a second, just 1 second, I saw its face, my face, but with that same wrong smile. It stared back, then blinked. Then I blinked, out of sync. Two people, one reflection. And I finally understood the real horror. It wasn't haunting my apartment anymore. It wasn't bound to a place. It had moved on. It was haunting me. I didn't sleep again after that. Not for nights. Even with the lights on, even with the windows open and the TV murmuring in the background, I could feel it, like gravity pulling at the edges of my soul. It wasn't outside me anymore. It was with me, in me, sometimes watching, sometimes waiting, sometimes practicing. Because here's the thing, I started noticing changes, little ones at first. I'd say something and realize the voice didn't feel like mine. Slightly off pitch, like I was hearing myself through a cracked speaker. I'd pick up my coffee with my right hand, except I'm left handed, always have been. I'd look at my reflection and see my lips twitch, like I was about to say something I hadn't thought yet. I started recording myself while I slept. Bad idea. The first night, the video showed me lying still, too still, chest barely moving, eyes closed, nothing strange, until the 34-minute mark. Then I sat up, not like someone waking from a nightmare. Number it was fluid, mechanical, like a puppet yanked upright. And I just sat there in the dark, staring straight ahead, not at the camera, at the mirror across the room. I stayed like that for almost 5 full minutes. Then I leaned in, so close to the mirror my breath fogged the glass, and whispered something. I played it back a dozen times, cleaned the audio, boosted the volume. It was just one word. Soon, I had no memory of it. None. I started catching myself, missing time, standing in rooms I didn't remember walking into, finding dirty dishes I hadn't used. Once I woke up to find my phone had texted my own number, a single photo, the corner from my old apartment. Except now it wasn't empty. There was a person crouched there. Me, back arched, arms bent, eyes wide open. And worst of all, I could see my real self in the doorway, taking the picture. Two of me, one in the corner, one holding the phone. Neither of them the real me. I lost it. I went back to the woman at the spiritual shop. She took one look at me and backed away. You brought it with you, she said. I begged for help. She told me what I didn't want to hear. It doesn't want to kill you, she whispered. It wants to replace you. That's when it clicked. The voice, the reflection, The way I'd started moving differently, thinking differently. It wasn't just haunting me anymore, it was learning me. And every day, every hour, it was getting better at it. She gave me one final thing, a small silver coin etched with strange symbols, told me to sleep with it under my tongue, said if the spirit tried to take over again, the coin might block it. Might. That night, I did as she said, put the coin under my tongue, laid in the guest room at my sister's house, shaking under the covers. At 2:59 a.m., the room turned cold. At 3 o'clock, the hush came again. No traffic outside, no hum from the fridge, no wind, nothing. And then, from the mirror across the room, my reflection sat up, but I didn't. My body lay still. I was awake, aware, but paralyzed. I watched my reflection move on its own, smiling, tilting its head, eyes dark and endless. Then it lifted a hand, and I felt it, like someone touched the inside of my skull. Then came the voice, inside my head, this time, clear, director, personal. You can keep the body, I'll take the rest. But the moment it said that, the coin under my tongue burned like ice, and fire fused together. I choked, gasped, and the reflection screamed out silently. Its face fractured, like glass under pressure. Then, just like that, it vanished. The hush lifted. I sat up, drenched in sweat. Still me, for now. But when I stood and walked past the mirror, I didn't look at it. Because I felt it, just beneath the surface of the glass. Breathing, waiting. And this time, it wasn't trying to get out. It was waiting for me to look in. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more chilling tales. We upload terrifying news stories regularly and you won't want to miss them. Check out our other scary videos. You never know what's waiting in the dark. Thanks for watching.